Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to dump your tanks. And so the take home for this, I hope, is that you find out how easy this is to do. We're going to show you how to set up all of your sewer hoses, flush and dump your tanks, and then just break everything down. I know this is often a task that is relegated to one of the travel partners, and some of the other partners maybe joking around say, I'm never going to touch the sewer. But personally, I feel like this is something that everybody needs to know how to do. You never know when something might happen to your travel partner and you're stuck, and you need to know how to do this. Sure, you can use the campground bathrooms or you can find a neighbor to help you, but there's just really no reason for it. It's super simple. It's not the most fun job or glamorous job, but it's not necessarily a dirty job. There's just really easy ways to keep yourself clean, wash your hands, stuff like that. So we're going to show you how to go through it. So one of the first tips is obviously to use gloves. I know some people don't. My background is nursing. I'm going to put on gloves. The other thing is I keep the gloves separate from all of my other black tank supplies. That way I can use these gloves for other purposes, but it also just keeps them in the box they're in clean before I ever touch anything else that's potentially dirty. Okay, so now we are ready to go ahead and get all of our sewer set up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put my gloves on. So right now, I'm considered clean. We have all of our black tank tubes and adapters all in this tub, but the whole top and the sides I consider clean. So I never touch this with dirty gloves. That way I can move it in and out of the truck without any problem. So we're gonna take this off. Everything that's in here we consider dirty. So the moment we touch it with our gloves, we don't want to touch anything else that's otherwise clean. So first thing is our hose. And so this hose is specific for back flushing. And so what I'll do when we first get somewhere is I'll go ahead and set this up to the water. I'm not going to plug it in to the trailer. There's no sense leaving it plugged in when you're not flushing. You would hate to have it accidentally get turned on and then start filling up your trailer with black tank stuff. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get it set up here. So this is just our pressure regulator, and then we have a splitter. So we have our fresh water. This is for our black tank flush, and this just has a backflow preventer on it. And so we're just gonna twist this on, and we're just gonna set this hose to the side. The other piece we have on here is just a cap on the end, just to prevent like critters and stuff from crawling up in it. Okay, so the next piece is we want to go ahead and set up our, I don't know what you call this thing, like a black tank support. And so you can see it's taller one side, shorter on the other. The whole point is that it keeps the sewer tube up off the ground, and it actually helps things use gravity to roll down. So I just like to start shorter side over here, and then I'm just going to walk it back over to where we're going to dump from. And you don't have to get it perfect, but that way you've got something to lay your tube out on. So the next part is to put in this adapter. So this is where obviously all of your sewer is gonna go. So we're gonna unscrew that, and it's just a hole. And so we need a fitted way for our sewer hose to attach to it so that it doesn't leak. And so this adapter basically just screws in, it's threaded, and then we're gonna be able to attach our hose and just lock it into place. So the next part I set up is this clear adapter directly to where the outlet is. Now, this is not required. You can definitely hook up your sewer directly to it, but the reason I like to use it is because then that way I can see exactly what's coming out of my tank when I flush it. If I didn't have this, sure, the end of the tube is clear and you can see what's coming out, but you don't know that that's actually just residual from your tube. This is really nice for when you're flushing. You can truly see when you've gotten all your solids out. The other piece here, this might look a little different than yours. We went with this Valtero additional valve. And so the concept here is it's its own standalone valve, separate from the black tank and the gray tank valves. That way, in case one of those fail, you still have the secondary one. That way, obviously, fluids don't come out. So at this point, nothing is open, but I'm gonna go ahead and attach this so that we can get our tubing attached. Okay, so next step is to set up our actual sewer hose. And so we have these undermount carriers for our hoses. We do have two. Sometimes you have a longer run and one tube isn't gonna do it. So again, that's why we have two. We do, while these do screw into place, we do put carabiners on them just to keep them closed. That way, hopefully they don't come out while you are on the highway. So just gonna pull the tube out and we're gonna get it hooked up. Okay, so when I'm carrying this around, I like to hold both ends up. There is residual fluid in here and there's just no reason to drip it all over the ground. So once we're here, we'll set it down, but that way we're not dripping it. I like to start with this side. Like I said, this part's keyed. So this way I can get this keyed in, make sure this is nice and tight, because then I can just pull on this tubing to get it all the way back over to where our sewer comes out. And now it's attached. And now that I've got this hooked up, now I'm just gonna walk this back, and that way I can just get it set up in my supports. And that's it, it's all set up. Okay, so now that we've got everything set up, we're ready to put our tote back, touching the last of the dirty things. So just closing this, because remember our hands were dirty when we opened it. Lock it back up. Nothing else. I just make sure I've got everything set up. I can go ahead and take my gloves off. Now I'm gonna pack the tote back up. Again, this is clean, so I can just go ahead and put this on and go inside and wash my hands and get this put back in the truck. Okay, so we are ready to flush our tanks. So I've donned gloves because again, my hose is dirty. I'm gonna treat all my valves like they're dirty. First up, we're gonna unscrew this and we're gonna hook this up to our black flush valve here. So that is all ready to go. Then I like to go ahead and open the Valtero. And then we're gonna go ahead and pull our valve for our black tank and it's gonna start to flush. So right now, this is just dumping. There's no water going in. We are gonna go ahead and turn the water on. So the whole concept with this is you want to flush it out. Now we don't want to just turn the water on, let it spray in there and flush out. We wanna actually turn the water on, close the valve, let it fill back up and then dump it. And the whole concept there is that each time you let it fill up and then dump back down, it's gonna drag more solids with it. So depending upon how much time we have, I normally do it at least once, typically twice, maybe 3 times. We full time, so I feel like just the frequency we do it just keeps it pretty clean. So we're gonna go ahead and turn the water on here. Again, we've got the backflow preventer so that we can leave our fresh water on at the same time. And so at this point, the water is running in. And so I'm gonna go ahead and close the valve so that we can let it fill back up. Now, while we are filling our black tank, it's important that you do not multitask. Don't run to go do some other quick task and walk away. This doesn't take long, and the last thing you need is to get distracted, pull in a different direction, and then all of a sudden the black tank has completely filled up and is now overflowing in your rig. So you'll notice we don't have one of the flow adapters to be able to measure how many gallons are being put in. We do have tank sensors that we use that work pretty well, so I can actually just look at them through the window and I can see where it's at. But we also have it timed, so I know within about 5 minutes it's gonna have our tank probably around like 70 to 80% filled up, and then I'm gonna dump it. All right, so we've let it fill up, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull the lever for the black tank, and we're gonna let it all flush out. Okay, so this is pretty well flushed out. There's still water running because we're adding water, but I'm gonna go ahead and close the valve. That way we can let it fill up one more time and we'll do our final dump. Okay, and this is filled up about where I want it, around 70, 80%, and then I'm gonna go ahead and dump it for the final time. Okay, so while this is dumping, I'm just gonna go ahead and turn the water off. That way we're not adding more back to it. We'll add some from the top via flushing it so that we can treat it later. But I can go ahead and just unhook the hose and set it off to the side. And again, there's just no sense leaving it hooked up. Just God forbid somebody turned on the wrong hose. You don't need it going in there accidentally. Now that the black is fully empty, I'm gonna go ahead and close that valve. Next step is to dump your gray. And the idea is we need to dump gray because we've taken showers and washed dishes, but it's also cleaner water that can flow through this and help carry any sewage that's still in here out. So we'll go ahead and pull the lever for gray and let that flow out now. So our gray tank has completely flushed out. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that valve. I will leave the Valero one open just because, again, it's a secondary preventative measure that we use when we're unhooked from our sewer. So right now it's fine to leave that one open. That being said, I don't leave any of the other tanks open. So black tank should always stay closed because otherwise liquids will go out and solids will form in the center, and that's how you get the poop pyramid. We also don't leave our gray open either, just because same thing with food particles from us washing dishes. If they get down there, they could also build up on the bottom. So we always keep them closed. You also never want to open them both at the same time, just to prevent any sort of blacks flowing back into your gray tank. So at this point, all of the flushing is done. I'm done touching all of my dirty things. Valves are closed, water is unhooked. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off my gloves and go inside, which are really sweaty, and go inside and wash my hands. After you have flushed your black tank, the next thing to do is to treat it. We happen to use the Unique brand of products, but whatever you use, this is the time to do it because it's empty. Typically you do need a little bit of water in the tank to be able to kind of dissolve whatever you're adding. And so you can do that by just adding water to the toilet bowl, add your chemicals, and flush it. Then you're all set. Okay, so we are, let's say we're ready to leave camp and we're ready to break everything down. I'm gonna go ahead and put my gloves on. I wanna get my sewer bin open. Remember, the outside of this is considered clean. So at this point, hands are still clean, but I'm gonna be dumping a bunch of dirty stuff in there, so I wanna have the lid already off. I'm gonna go ahead and close our external valve. I'm gonna unscrew our tube. See if we can get it. This one's brand new. And then because we probably have just dumped, I'm gonna actually walk this all the way over to the sewer just to make sure whatever is residual in this tube is going down the drain. But again, I'm just holding it up. That way it's not draining everywhere or dripping on me. So we'll get whatever's left. Just kind of set this off to the side. Unscrew it from here. I'm gonna take my insert out and then we would just recap it. And so as far as putting this back in the trailer, just carry it, both these up. That way you're not dripping all over everything. We have our carry tubes mounted underneath. I know some of you guys probably have bins that you put them in. These are pretty handy. But I'm just gonna start feeding this in. Now you'll notice I've compressed it somewhat, but not fully. I don't want this so tiny that it actually goes in too far. I want it to be really easy to grab next time, so I'm not having to reach in. I usually try to leave this up just in case there is still fluid in it. It's not dripping all over the place. And then I just close this up. And so obviously all of this is considered dirty because I'm touching the dirty hose. All right, so last piece, just take this off. Go ahead and close this up. Got my two pieces. I'm gonna throw this back in our bin. The other piece is just to condense our holder. And then we're gonna grab our hose. And last step is just taking off our hose for our sewer. I do like to hook these together just so that there's obviously still gonna be water that's in it. And that way it'll just keep it from leaking out all over the place in the bin. That's it. We'll just dump it in the bin. Now at this point, I'm done, but I just want to look around and I want to make sure that I'm done touching anything dirty. So I've already locked up my sewer hose. I've gotten all of my pieces, put them in here. The last step is just to close this lid. But again, my hands are dirty. So I want to take the gloves off. Again, the outside of this is clean. And now we can close it up. Maybe. And we're done. All right, so now that we're done, last step is for me to go throw these gloves away, wash my hands. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you feel like you could do this if you needed to. Hopefully maybe you pick it up every once in a while. That way just keep your skill set up. But anyway, if you like this kind of content, please subscribe and drop us a comment if you have any other tips. So I like to make sure that's nice and snug because then I can really easily, let's do that part again.